my response to the sixth evaluation question. What have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product? I'm going to talk about software that I use. Before creating my media product, I never had any experience with InDesign before. What experience I had with Photoshop was almost non-existent. What I used it for was to add a picture to it or to manipulate some text, and that was it. My own WordPress blog, so I knew quite a bit about how to use it. And there was still a lot I had to learn, but I was more familiar with that than I was with InDesign and Photoshop. A lot of YouTube in my spare time, so I was quite familiar with the way YouTube worked, with both the layout and how uploading videos worked. I actually uploaded a video before, but I knew roughly how to do it. My coursework, I felt very confident using InDesign compared to what I felt before. That's probably because I used it for both my main task and my preliminary exercise, and it played such a big part in it that I think that if I didn't have any confidence using it, my product wouldn't have been any good at all. I feel a lot more competent with Photoshop than I did before. I still have a long way to go, but it's nowhere near as bad. Like, I can add images and text with little difficulty, and I can then manipulate them to quite a vast extent comparatively to what I could before. I have a more intimate knowledge of WordPress. I can embed things like videos and links into it with no difficulty, and things like pictures and documents I can upload with ease. Of course, I've also learned how to use things like Prezi and Bubbless to help me create resources for the course and to help present the things that I now know. As I said before, I'd never actually uploaded a video to YouTube, however, I did have a rough idea of how to do it. Now I've actually uploaded videos and it's a lot easier than I thought it was. I can also actually turn PowerPoints into videos and record my voice over the top of them, which I couldn't before. And the task was a bit daunting to start with, but once I got used to it, it was very easy compared to what I thought it would be. The advantages for InDesign are that it's very good for creating the final product because you can add all these guides that really help you to things are going to go before you actually start. So then you always have a rough guideline of where things are going to go. So then you're not going to go to put something in and realize that there's nowhere near enough room. So good if the majority of the text and pictures that you're wanting to put in, you're just either putting straight in or you're manipulating in Photoshop first. Or if you only want to add like a little bit of effect to it, so like if you just want to add a drop shadow, it's really easy to just do it in InDesign as opposed to having to go through the effort of doing it in Photoshop. On the other hand, Photoshop is really good for manipulating images and text if you're wanting to do it before adding it into the document. It's also really good for adding really complicated effects to your text and images. I managed to make one of my pieces of text look very metallic and it was a very good effect and it looked really good on my magazine, but I would never have been able to achieve it in InDesign. Is that it's not versatile enough to create complex effects. It's options for things like that than Photoshop does. And in general, the effects that you can create look good, but would look better if they were created in Photoshop. And with the rulers and guides, sometimes it is difficult to get exact dimensions on something. When you're trying to be really precise, like to within a couple of millimeters, it can be a bit complicated to try and do it. It's really fiddly sometimes. You can generally get there in the end. It just, as I said, takes a bit of fiddling. Photoshop would be any good for creating the finished magazine of all the guides that InDesign does, and those guides really help to create the finished product. And it's more difficult to move things around and change things. So, creating effects in Photoshop are really complicated. Like, even people that have done media at GCSE that are in my class have struggled to get some of the effects on Photoshop. Following online instructions, I found it really difficult to create the metallic effect. I think that in some ways it's just so complicated that I didn't really want to have to deal with it any more than necessary. Now we're going to talk about hardware that I used in creating my magazines. The main type of hardware that I used, especially for things like photographs, was my DSLR camera, which was a Nikon D5300. Um, it's a very good camera, and I bought it myself, and I had this camera before I started making the magazines. I'd already had it for about a year, so I was very adept with using it. Over the period of the course, I don't think my skills have improved that much because I already knew so much about the camera with it already being my own that there wasn't really much to improve on. I did learn quite a bit about the different sorts of lighting that you can use to get a better photograph. So in a way, the lights were a more difficult piece of hardware for me than the camera was. Hardware that I used over the course of my project was a WD My Passport X. It's a 2 terabyte portable hard drive. Just about every way, it's like every other file storage or USB device I've used before. So even though I'd not used it before my project, I had next to no worry trying to find out how it worked because it worked really easily. There was no problem with it whatsoever. Simple to use. In order to do my project as well as I could, I bought myself a new laptop. I don't remember exactly what sort of laptop it was, but I know that it's an Asus. For my project, I've had lots of various laptops over the years, so getting this one, figuring out how to use it was no bother at all. I can use it just as well as I could use my old laptop, which, considering how much time I spend on it, is pretty well. Overall, I think I found it easier to use the hardware than I did the software because I'm a lot more used to using that sort of hardware, whereas the software was all really new and often quite tricky to use.